I'm Andrea Giles, and you're listening to the Heal from Infidelity podcast, episode number 80, Self-confrontation. Hello, and welcome to the Heal from Infidelity podcast, where courageous women learn not only to heal from their spouse's betrayal, but to become the boldest, truest, most decisive, and confident versions of themselves ever. If you know there's more for you than the life you're currently living, but don't quite know how to get there, you are in the right place. Stick around to learn how to create a life that will knock your own socks off. Is it possible? It is, and I'm here to show you how. I'm your host, Andrea Giles. Are you ready? Let's dive in. Hey, everybody. I'm going to jump right into episode number 80 here, Self-confrontation. So last week, we talked about self-soothing in preparation for this episode about self-confrontation. So I'm going to just go. I'm recording this the night before my family and I take off for a trip to California. We are getting out of town, getting to warmer skies. I'm so excited, but it's been a little crazy trying to get out the door with a 3-month-old and all of her stuff. I forget how much stuff babies have. Anyways, self-confrontation. What is it? As it sounds by the name, it's confronting yourself, seeing yourself as you really are. Looking at yourself, really seeing yourself. As I was preparing this episode, I was thinking about a couple examples from the New Testament. I know not all of you are religious. I know a lot of you are. Whether you are or not, just listen for a little bit and you can learn from the examples that I'm sharing. So I'm going to give two examples. One of when we watched a really good example of self-confrontation, and another where we're taught some things about how to confront ourselves, okay? So first of all, in the New Testament, Jesus Christ goes to his disciples, to his apostles, and he tells them that one of them is going to betray him. And they all get sad. They're sad. And they don't want to betray him. And they say these words, "Lord, is it I?" They demonstrated humility. They demonstrated wanting to know and wanting to correct. Okay, that's one example. Another is found in the book of Matthew, Matthew chapter 7, verse 3 through 5. "And why beholdest thou the mote that is in thy brother's eye, but considerest not the beam that is in thine own eye? Or how wilt thou say to thy brother, Let me pull out the mote out of thine eye, and behold, a beam is in thine own eye? Thou hypocrite, first cast out the beam out of thine own eye, and then shalt thou see clearly to cast out the mote out of thy brother's eye." Okay, before I go any further, I just want to say that I know many of you have been very deeply hurt by your partner or your spouse. Deeply, deeply hurt. I know many of you believe I would never do such a thing. And you probably believe correctly in many ways. Okay. However, for us to move forward and to heal and to step into the next version ourselves, this is still essential. Why? Because it gives us clarity. Self-confrontation gives us clarity. It helps us to know exactly what we want to work on. It helps us to know when we are growing, help us to know what we need to address in our relationships and how we want to show up. Self-confrontation has a high personal reward. You can see your spouse through a clearer lens because you aren't seeing them as the person that you need to see them as. Let me explain what I mean by that. We often, when we are not self-confronting, see our spouse in a way that we want to see them so that it reflects back on us what we want to see in ourselves. So if our spouse is behaving in a way that we don't like, it's easier to blame them for feeling bad ourselves. Like, you hurt me, I don't want to feel bad. If you would just do this and that, then I wouldn't feel so bad. And yeah, the hurt is real. Okay, I'm not negating that. But oftentimes, where some of that hurt is coming from is because it's making us question our own goodness, our own validity, our own lovability. And so we think, well, if they would do this or not do this, then I get to feel this way about me. With self-confrontation, we're letting them do them and letting us do us. We're really getting clear on who we are. Lord, is it I? Who am I? What is my contribution? Okay. With infidelity, it's very easy to see the problems with our spouse, to see where they let go of integrity. We can see the breaks in their character. And often we feel like we have to control them and feel powerless ourselves without things to work on ourselves. Okay. If we're just sitting there spending all of our energy trying to control another person, it's exhausting, right? And ultimately, we're missing an opportunity for ourselves to grow. So, some examples. Okay. One example is a client learning to communicate wants and needs better without expecting the spouse to mind read and then becoming resentful when they don't mind read. Okay. This would be an area to self confront, to say, I expect these things from my spouse, but I have not articulated it. And because they're not giving it to me, I'm going to resent them instead, because that's easier than really getting clear on what I want and then communicating it, knowing that he might say no. And then I'd have to feel bad. Example number 2, letting unprocessed anger turn into bitterness. And no matter how hard he tries, you still feel resentful. This is something to self-confront about, to look at yourself and go, why am I holding on to this? How is it serving me to be bitter? Do I like how I show up when I am bitter or resentful? Number 3, keeping so involved with kids or work to avoid things that are difficult in marriage. We do this sometimes because being around our spouse sometimes can feel like a mirror being held up to ourselves that feels uncomfortable. So we keep busy and scramble to be the super mom and do all the things. And often it's to avoid. With self-confronting in this space, you can look at why you're avoiding. What is it that I'm avoiding? What would happen if I stopped avoiding? What would change? How could I grow? Number 4, and just to say, there are so many examples I can give here. There are so many. I'm just giving a few, but there's lots of areas where we can self-confront. Number 4, not looking closely at why you are not interested in intimacy. Keeping things surface level. I have a headache. Why do you always have a headache? Why are you too tired? What is underneath that? What's under not being interested in intimacy? Now, I understand that with infidelity, it often can make us not as interested in intimacy. It can not feel as safe, but I'm talking even before that, before this occurred. If we are avoidant of intimacy, keeping it very surface level, keeping it very kind of cold. Why? What's actually going on? What are you afraid of? What needs to be addressed? What needs to be allowed to be seen? What happens when we do see ourselves? What becomes available to us? Here are some characteristics of seeing ourselves: less anxiety and shame and more acceptance, feeling more relaxed. We might feel hurt. We might feel disappointed in some of the things that we do, but it feels like healing pain rather than contracting against it and arguing with it. So several episodes ago, I did an episode called Clean Pain, Dirty Pain. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit more about this. When we're looking at ourselves and self-confronting from a place of dirty pain, we are arguing with what we see. We are defending, deflecting, denying, not accepting the past, pushing against it. This creates dodging yourself, hiding. This creates repeating the same patterns over and over again. Clean pain from this space creates clean action. Okay? Moving forward from an accurate self-picture, accepting the past and accepting what currently is, and using that information to determine the next steps. So, for example, if let's say the one about the example of keeping so busy with kids and work to not have to deal with hard things in marriage, one who really looks at that and self confronts might see that the reason they don't want to be intimate in emotionally intimate with their partner and spend time with them is because they're afraid that their spouse might not want to. They're afraid that they might be rejected. Okay, so they keep avoiding. From this space of self confrontation, from the space of clean action, you step into it. You go and you make attempts to repair, attempts to be with this person, knowing full well that it might hurt. But it's coming from this place of clarity and courage, so much courage. Okay. Now, I want to make a point that this is a continuous process. It is not one and done. Okay. Several episodes ago as well, I talked about after my divorce doing this work. I remember it. I remember going, okay, Andrea, where did I hide? Where did I avoid? Where did I deflect? Where did I defend? I found some stuff and it hurt. Some of it I found after he died, and I have not been able to apologize, right? There are things that I have to just wait until a later time to apologize for, and I'm okay with that. Acceptance of myself looks like this. I know that I made some mistakes. I also know that I did the best that I could with where I was. And I know that as I grow and mature, I trust myself that I will grow and mature in how I show up, that I'll do better with the new information that I have found. And guess what? I'll continue this process until I die. All of us will, because we're all flawed. We're going to keep doing this over and over again. It's not one and done, and it's okay. Okay. So even though you did not betray the trust in the relationship through infidelity, you are doing yourself a disservice to not self-confront. When we avoid this work, we tend to create the same situations over and over again. Self-evaluation is a gift you give yourself, even if it's hard, even if it's painful. You people that are listening to this podcast, you're courageous. You are courageous. It takes courage, and you've got courage. It takes courage to see yourself, to really truly see yourself, and to go, oh, that hurts a little bit, right? Oh, that stings. And then you get to fix it. You get to move forward. All of you have an opportunity to be heroic. Whether you are alone or with your partner, you can be heroic just for yourself. I want you to think for a minute about your favorite movie. In every good story, there's a hero, and there comes a time where the conflict becomes unbearable to the hero, and self-confrontation must occur. My favorite movie is Pride and Prejudice. And in Pride and Prejudice, both Mr. Darcy and Elizabeth Bennet have to self-confront. They both have to look at their pride and their prejudice, right? Hence the name, Pride and Prejudice. They have to see it. They have to see where they have been dead wrong, where they made assumptions that were false, where they made judgments that were false. And if they would not have done that, they would not have found the love that they did. Is this fictional? Yes, it's fictional. But sometimes a good fiction serves well, right? Spider-Man, obviously also fictional, although I think it would be cool if it was real. Spider-Man has to self-confront after his uncle dies. He has to see where he has been prideful and arrogant and angry and decide to do something about it. And then he goes and saves the world, right? We all have heroic qualities inside of us. We all do. And self-confronting is a gift and a tool that we can use to step into who we are meant to be. It's a way to stop making excuses. It's a way to say, this is the thing that I want, and I'm done making excuses. This is what I want, and this is why I have not been able to create it, because I keep holding on to this story. I keep doing this thing. I keep waiting for my spouse to do this thing. It's having the courage to really tell yourself the truth and then do something with it. And then using the tools that I taught last week about self-soothing, loving yourself, having compassion, practicing compassion, determining how you want to grow, who you want to become for you. For you. This is a gift you're giving you. It's not to make you more worthy. It's not to make you more lovable. Okay? It's for you to grow your trust of yourself, that you've got you. Yes, other people benefit from it, but you, my friend, benefit the most. It's a gift. Let's all go self-confront. Doesn't that sound fun? Super fun. All right, my friends. This is a shorter episode today. We've had a lot of talk leading up to this episode. I hope that you have enjoyed it. I hope that you've enjoyed the last few weeks where we've talked about holding on to ourselves. Holding on to ourselves is so powerful. So powerful. And this is just one huge piece of that. We can hold on to ourselves when we know ourselves, right? When we know who we are. All of it. I want to add one more quick thing. Another huge part of self-confronting is allowing for the good. Allowing ourselves to own all the wonderful things about us. To really own our own power, to own our own strength, to know who we are, all of it. So when you're doing this work, when you're looking at what you see all of you in your magnificence. Okay? Your strength, your weakness, your flaws, your strengths, all of it. Okay, sending you so much love, and I will see you next week. All right, bye-bye. Thank you for listening to the Heal from Infidelity podcast. If you would like to be kept in the know about upcoming free classes, new podcast episodes, and other ways of working with me, go subscribe to my weekly email. You can subscribe at andreagiles.com/lies-about-infidelity/. Again, it's andreagiles.com/lies-about-infidelity/. I will see you next time.